Hello, Dr. Larry. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Beautiful, beautiful. And it's so nice to have you here. Thank you so very much for being here. And you see, Dr. Larry, oftentimes I love to thank my guest for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, Dr. Larry, I want to say thank you so very much for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invest that in yourself. And oftentimes, Dr. Larry, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, Dr. Larry, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves are all dry. So I just walked
Yes.
past it and I went my way. But you see, Dr. Larry, just recently I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree, you see. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance. And immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did. And it wowed me. Because now the
Wow.
mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches. And not just mangoes now, doctor. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a beautiful experience that day. I was so excited. Here is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Dr. Larry that you are today, that alone has made it impossible for me to say no to you. And getting to read a little bit about you, the beautiful stuff that you're doing, I found them very inspiring, just like I mentioned earlier. So I've got to say, thank you so very much for doing that yourself. And secondly, thank you for being here. Truly appreciate you.
Thank you for your kind words. And I really appreciate you having me on the show and being able to share stories and to be able to have a conversation with you. I find it very inspiring myself.
Beautiful. I love that. So let's get started. You see, I am quite excited to have you on the show today, Dr. Larry, for some reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Doctor, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you say, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm excited to have the incredible Dr. Larry on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, Doctor, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, Dr. Larry, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So, for that reason, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Dr. Larry got here. Then, afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Dr. Larry, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'll give you my official curriculum vitae and then we'll get into the real Dr. Larry. So, the official is I born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. I played sports my whole life, very interested. I became interested in chiropractic when I was 11 years old, and I received such a great treatment that I decided I would spend my entire life studying to be a chiropractor. And I did practice for 36 years after studying at the University of Manitoba and at Toronto. And I used my life experiences to help me heal people. And as I say, that's on the curriculum vitae. But the reason I wrote the book Johnny and Me, there's a lot more behind that story. Is what people didn't know is that I also began drinking and drugging at age 11 and continued for the next 30 years. And it wasn't a pretty sight. On the outside, I may have looked like I was doing well, but on the inside, I was literally dying. And I went through school, through the early part of my career, in a state where I was looking good on the outside, but I was just dying on the inside. And it was my own doing. I can't blame anybody else. There are situations, there are circumstances, but no one poured alcohol or pills down my throat. So something had to happen to make this change. And I think that's where I was sharing with you the story that happened at the treatment center, where my life changed at that point. It's not like it became easy after that, but I gained the insight. And you mentioned about being in a place of darkness, because that's where I was. And then a young man showed me the light, and it wasn't by words. He had a feeling, he had a presence. So there's the how they say, what I told to the world for many years, and now what I'm telling through my book. Here's the real person, and I think we all need to be more real and authentic, because I was as guilty as anybody else, as always wanting to appear like I was doing well when I was really suffering inside.
Wow. You said something that really touched me just now. You said the young man showed you the light, not just by words, but by his presence. Wow, that's really profound. And you also mentioned that you want to heal people, and I love that. So I want you to still talk more about that. How did your transformation begin? Can you talk more on that?
Yeah, I think we'll go right to that moment when I was at the treatment center, and I'll do a little background information, because I was years ago. I did an interview with a man who was an addiction doctor, and we were comparing notes about how I started drinking and drugging, and how I got into it, and then how did you heal? And so we were on the same page. He was talking about psychosocial, and I was talking about mind, body, spirit. So yeah, we're basically on the same page. But then where the diverse point of view, or not diverse, the opposite point of view came about when I told him that basically here's the turning point for me wasn't from medications, which is what he was offering to stop the withdrawal, which of course I guess you do need it so you don't die, but it's to stop the cravings. I said I received the light from a young 20-year-old boy who was in the room. I was dying, basically, at the treatment center. They didn't know if I was going to make it. Counselors had come in to talk to me. I was too sick to even go to any sessions, and I woke up. I had a horrible headache. I was throwing up. I just wanted to give up and die. And he used an analogy about the mango tree. Here's my analogy: I was swimming in an ocean. It was cold. I was alone. I saw no land in sight, and I just had said, you know what? I just want to die. Please take me. I can't take this anymore. And it was almost at about that moment I looked up, and there was this young man, and I'll use the name as I did in the book. His name was Jonathan, and he asked me how I was doing, and I told him I wasn't doing well, and I was wanting to give up. And that's when he basically said very few words, but he said, you know what? I've been through the same thing that you have. And he was a wise old soul for about, I guessed, about 20 years old. And I was in my early 40s at the time. And I looked at him, and he was just so sincere. And there was something, the presence about him. I says, what do you mean, though? I just want to let it go. He says, no, man, you got a lot to live for. He says, trust me. I got through it. You can get through it. We need you. People want you to make it. And that was the moment. And I thank the counselors for sending him in, because I don't know if they'd given up on me either. That's the moment where I thought, okay, maybe I can, for today, I'm going to try. Because up until then, I wanted to give up and die. So it was that moment when Jonathan said that I could do this, that my spirit was ignited. Darkness was taken away, and it wasn't bright light, but there was just enough. There was just enough. So you know what? If you try, you might just make it. And it was a lot of hard work and support. No one does it alone. And that was the point where I believe that the healing journey began, because I had tried so many other ways of trying to get better, trying to stop, and I never could. But that was the moment where I believe the spiritual transformation happened.
Wow, this is amazing, I tell you. And I believe Jonathan came into the picture at that particular time because you were not done with your assignment yet. So dying is not part of the plan at all because you haven't even started. And now look at the impact your story is having. Because right now I feel so inspired. I tell you, just listening to you speak. And I believe there are some folks who might be stuck in the addiction, alcoholic addiction and all, by just listening to your words and your story. Just the way you mentioned that something ignited in your spirit, I believe same would also happen to a lot of people by just listening to you speak. So thank you so very much for summing up the courage to come share your story. I've got to give you your flowers, man. That's a beautiful one. So,
Thank you.
uh, yeah, I've got some questions here. All right. Are you ready for me?
I'm ready.
Okay. So let us talk about the wounded healer. So what does the wounded healer mean to you?
Oh, I'm glad you asked, because I've read a couple books on it, and I lived as a wounded healer when I came back from treatment. I was so ashamed of having to come back and face people, and a lot of people knew I had been in a treatment center, and I felt wounded more spiritually, emotionally than physically. And I'm going, well, how am I supposed to be helping other people when they're going to look at me as, well, you're sick yourself. How can you possibly help any other people? And this is where Gabor Mate in his YouTube videos and his writing starts talking about we're all wounded, and you can start from a place of acknowledging that you are wounded and use that as a basis to connect to people who are having health problems. And I really didn't quite understand this until it was the first week I had come back, and I met a young woman. She had several problems. She had severe sciatica, and since I'm a chiropractor, okay, I got no problem dealing with that. But she also had mental health issues, and she was suffering. And I kind of knew a little bit. I didn't have mental health issues, but I had addiction issues. And she's looking at me, I'm looking at her, where it's kind of awkward. It says, you know what? I think I can help you with this. If you'll trust me through the process, it's going to be a little uncomfortable at the beginning, but are you ready for us to try? And she looked at me and she said, you understand, don't you? You know what it's like. I said, well, maybe not exactly what you're going through, but I have something similar. Are you okay if we just leave it there, and knowing that I know the type of suffering you're going through? She says, yeah, I believe you and I trust you. You ready to get started? Yeah, I'm ready to get started. So I used my inner strength to overcome the feeling of being wounded and reaching out to another human being who was suffering. Getting the hands on, I tell you, for the first few seconds, it felt very, very awkward, but all of a sudden something came in and going, okay, there it is. Is that better? Oh, yeah, that's better. Okay, let's work with me. It's going to be sore for a while, but I think we've made a lot of progress today, and we were able to do some things physically with her. And I says, okay, let's not worry about how long this is going to take. It says, here's a few little things I want you to do at home, and then we're going to see you in a couple of days, and then we're going to work from there. So that was my first. I'd read about the wounded healer, but until I had actually experienced it, that was um, my first experience with it.
Wow. And I never knew that. That part where you mentioned that we are all wounded. That's a smart perspective. So let's talk about your book, all right? So
Okay.
what inspired your book, Johnny and Me? And how did you come about the title?
Oh, what inspired it was I was coming to the end of my chiropractic career, and I had written a book, Embracing the Journey of Recovery, in 2007. But it's really hard to be in practice and be an author at the same time. So I started. I was during COVID, and I was getting all stressed out, and I saw an ad on Facebook saying, you can use writing to deal with your stress. And that's basically what this man offered me, was stress for physicians and healthcare providers by doing writing. So I made a Zoom had a Zoom meeting with him. We wanted to see if we were going to click, and I really liked him. He says, here's what we're going to do. I'll give you some readings. You're going to write some stories. I will critique it, and then we're going to have big discussions on it. So I says, you know what? I know what I want to write about. It's recovery, and I'm going to run it by. His name is Jack. I'm going to run it by Jack and see what he thinks about it. So I got 4, 5, 6, 7 stories. That worked out so well. I kept working with it. I took a few other courses with him, and then in 2023, I'm retiring. I says, you know what? Maybe I can combine all these stories into a book. But you're asking about why do you call it Johnny and Me? I said, well, I want to make this special because we're going to have a conversation. Johnny is the inner voice within me. He is the voice of Johnny X Whiskey, who's been guiding me, or I should say misguiding me, over the years. And I was celebrating a sobriety birthday, and I gave 2 speeches. One was from Larry, and one was from Johnny. And Johnny basically was saying, Larry, you're a boring person. You were so much fun when you were out there drinking. Look at you now. You're such a boring person, and you love me. You loved me for all those years. And I gave you confidence, and look how you've treated me. All I ask is we should get together. Just take one. Just take one. And if you don't like it, then that's okay. So it's the devious voice of Johnny. And then he started cutting down the people who were supporting me as well. So that was the voice of Johnny. And then Larry came back and says, Johnny, you're basically a malevolent entity. You were evil. You had me puking in the toilets. You had me isolated. It was not a relationship. You were the master. I was the slave. And you're going to be going on this journey down under to where. And I am not joining you. The only way that you can possibly hurt me is if I let you in. And I'm not going to let you in. But I'll tell you what, I respect you. Because once you are in me, I lose all control. So it's like I've heard firemen saying with fire, they fear it, but they kind of respect it so much because of how powerful it is. So that's why I called it Johnny. And it's
wow.
So that's where it came from.
This is amazing, I tell you. And I love the way you put it. You say that's a smart one. Okay, so one last one. What went through your mind when you saw Johnny at the Ironman finish line? You saw Johnny?
Oh, yeah, I saw it was a fleeting vision. I had been through, if you know an Ironman, for those who don't know, it's a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, 26 mile marathon, and you go through every emotion. It's like living your life in that period of time. It took me just over 14 hours. Extreme highs, extreme lows. At points I didn't think I was going to make it. But it was during the run, where coming near the finish line, where I'm just so excited. I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. And I saw the image of Johnny, but it was fleeting. I'm going, you know what? You don't even matter. Get away from me. This is for the living. This is for the people I care about. You don't even count anymore. That's how insignificant you are. Just like, go away. We use the buddy. Go away. And so, like I say, it was a fleeting image, and it was just very interesting because so many things went on. I actually had forgot about it because that wasn't the most important thing. But you always have to remember, he's out there doing he's doing push-ups outside, waiting for me to be in a bad situation, such as if I had undergoing stress, if there's a death, or if there's injury, or if I'm under severe duress. Johnny will be asking me, "Come on, Larry, just have one. It'll help." But I'd been through that several times during my clean time, and he hasn't bothered me.
Awesome. And Johnny would always be disappointed. He would never get what he wants. Never. So to bring this to an end, Dr. Larry, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those folks who like to reach out to you, learn more about the wonderful stuff you're doing, or even make a purchase of your book or ask you questions, how can that be possible?
Um, so I guess the message I would like to give is it's very simple. There's hope. No matter how far down the scale you have gone, there is somebody out there who can help you. And if one person doesn't work, ask another. Because I asked a lot of people. Sometimes it was the wrong person, but eventually I asked the right people, and they were able to help me. So never, never give up. And I was about to give up, and somebody showed up in my life. So as long as you're here, you're living and you're breathing, there is hope out there. As far as getting a hold of me, I can give you my website and also my personal email, and I would love to hear from you. And I've also got some free e-copies I can send you right away. Canada Post is on strike. So my website is drlarrysmithauthor.com, and my email is drlarr@shaw.ca, and I would love to hear from you. And like I say, Johnny and Me was a work of passion, and I put my whole being and spirit and soul to it. And family members have told me it was very raw, very difficult to read, but the way it turned out was just it was wonderful. And thank you for being so vulnerable. And that's what I've been afraid with over the years, to show the vulnerable side. But just because you are vulnerable doesn't mean that you can't be strong at the same time. So that's what I'd
Yeah,
like to say to your listeners as well. We're all strong, but we're all
yeah.
vulnerable.
We're all strong and we're all vulnerable. I got that. So that's going to be the end of the show, Dr. Larry. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing this beautiful stuff with us. It means a whole lot. Thank you.
Thank you, and it's been an absolute pleasure. Anytime.